Jai Sri Ram. Anselm's ontological argument. Ontology is the study of the nature of being. It's a branch of philosophy. What does it mean when you say I? Who's that I? Is it the body? No, no, no. This is my body. That means this I is something else. Your hand. This is my hand. So who the hell is my? So when somebody dies, you say his body is here. He left. The same thing you say when a dog dies. It's dead. It's gone. So its body is here, but it's gone. So it simply means that it or he, when a human dies, you might say he, she, or it if it's a baby. And then for an animal, you say it. So ask these Christians or Muslims, is there a difference between the it in the dog, the it in the child, and he and she of the body, of the male and female bodies which are lying here? These fellows have a weird dogma. They will say that there is no soul in the animal. There is only a soul in the male, female, and the child. And now the child, the poor child, who was born and within, let's say, an hour, within a couple of minutes, it died. The poor child has to wait in a grave till the day of judgment, and then it has to receive judgment. What the hell has it done? It hasn't done anything. It has not even uttered a sound, perhaps, and it died. A stillborn child has to wait in a grave? What kind of a nonsensical dogma is yours? I can ask some very strong questions, but then, well, I'm scared because I can be dragged to courts, and perhaps they might go for my neck also, and I have only one neck, so I value my neck a lot. Now, Anselm, in fact, the word Anselm means God's helmet. Anselm is a saint. And if their God needs a helmet, that means this God is scared that somebody could hit him on the head. So who's that who's more powerful than the God who can hit God? Therefore, your silly God needs a helmet. The name Anselm means God's helmet. It's so laughable, isn't it? Anyway, Saint Anselm, this fellow is called. He came up with a very interesting proposition that God exists. And his argument is this: God, by definition, is a being than which none greater can be imagined. That looks all right. God means that being than which no one greater can be imagined. So, you cannot imagine anything greater than this. So, if you can imagine something greater than everything else, then that is God. And then he goes to the next proposition. That means God can be imagined, right? You can imagine God by thinking up and imagining about someone who is greater than anything and everything. So, now this God is an imagined God who exists in your mind. So, Anselm says a God who simply exists in the mind is actually lesser than a God who exists in reality also. That means he is mind plus reality, and therefore God must exist. He rested his argument there. So this is a very interesting proposition. But of course the counter is very simple. Suppose I assume that there is a perfect shoe or a perfect shuttle badminton racket in my mind. Nothing better than that. So the more perfect one, or one that is perfecter than this one. Oh, grammar professors will say, hey, no, more perfect, most perfect. So, one should exist in reality. And we will never know whether such a racket or a shoe can exist. Silly argument. Anyway, this fellow, I pity him. He was probably not aware of the Bhagavad Gita. Any fellow who talks like this, I think, has a capacity for critical thinking. If he had read Bhagavad Gita, he would have become a great Sant, Vaishnava Sant. Poor fellow must be rotting in some grave and waiting for the day of judgment which never seems to come. And in the meanwhile, some people have already gone to heaven, and some people have peeped into hell and seen that hell is full of women and rich people, and now they are contradicting their own propositions. If heaven and hell actually come into existence only after the D-Day, the Armageddon, the apocalyptic battle, violent end, and then only hell and heaven come into existence, how is it that some people are already in heaven and hell? So, again, a critical thinking question. See, critical thinking is the nemesis of these two desert cults. So, it's an interesting discussion, isn't it? Anselm's argument is good. God's helmet, this fellow is. He himself is bald. Actually, he needs a helmet. But his argument is interesting. Just like Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager is even more piquant, thought provoking. Jai Shri Ram.